What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of IVLeagueMindset. Today, I want to chat a little bit about something I saw this week. One of my buddies threw out the question on Instagram this week. Shout out to Kyle. He said, "How much does success depend on luck?" And I thought that was a great topic for Hawk and I to discuss this week. Just to elaborate on that, because I know I have my feelings on it. Hawk has his feelings on it. And we'll see how where this goes. So, Hawk, what are your thoughts on that to start it off?
Okay, so we'll start small here,
Yeah.
right? So how I see it sometimes with people, it depends on their situation, but sometimes when people are like, "Oh, that guy's so lucky, that guy's so lucky, that guy's so lucky," is that they don't see sometimes the background work to it, right? So say peop some of my friends get mad at me because I always had a few jobs all the time. But what they don't see is that I'm applying everywhere, right? So by putting out extra work, I'm increasing my probability to be successful. So this is just one part. I know you can look at it a couple different ways, but that's just one way to look at it.
For sure. I mean, I know, let's say, the only really chance I think of you, becoming 100% lucky is if, say, you buy a lottery ticket and it's your first time ever buying a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
And your number happens to get drawn that week and you win the 40 mil or
That's
whatever
just-
it is, right? That is pure luck.
Yeah.
But then there's also those people that might win the lottery, but they've been buying a ticket every single Friday for
Yep.
their whole life.
Yep.
And yes, it is lucky that they won that week,
Mm-hmm.
but also they would say, you don't know how much money I put into it or whatever.
Yeah.
And then if you translate that to maybe getting a job opportunity or maybe something happening in your life, like you said, the outside people might be like, "Oh wow, he was so lucky to get that job,"
Yeah.
or "He was so lucky to get whatever." But I guess to translate it for me and you both have had some things happen to us over the last few weeks
Mm-hmm.
that are great accomplishments, and I feel like, yes, I'm a little bit lucky that it has happened.
Mm-hmm.
But then after I started looking at this question, I really started thinking about it, is sure, you're lucky that happened, but you also put in all that work to make sure that opportunity could appear to yourself so that could happen. So
Yeah.
yes, it's lucky that those paths just crossed each other at that time, but I put in all the work, or you put in all the work, or whoever it might be has put in the work to make sure that they got to that point for that luck to be able to come to them.
Yeah, it's putting yourself in that situation where you have the better opportunity for these things to happen, right? If you just sit on the couch and do nothing and then expect something to happen, right? You got a way lower chance. You might be luckier if you get it, but I'd rather be, in the situation, putting in all the work so I have the best possibility. I don't even get mad if, say, the person sitting on the couch, they did a little bit of work and they get it, whatever. Stuff happens, right? But I'd rather put myself in that situation so I have the better chance in case this guy has higher qualifications or whatever it is, that I have the best chance for my own situation, and not to get mad at those kind of things if that person gets it, right?
Yeah, there's always going to be those types of situations where maybe someone hasn't put in the same amount of work for you and they got the phone call, and sure, lucky for them. But when I look at the success I've had in my life and the success I want to have, I'm not just going to sit around and wait for a phone call or sit around and hope that something's going to happen. I'm going to put in the work, and I'm going to take the steps needed to put myself in the scenarios that I need to be in order for that luck to come to me, or in order for those opportunities to come for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Just like having results at the gym for fitness, nobody really cares if you put in the work, if you don't put in the work, whatever, right? I think if you have that kind of mindset where you know that people don't care if you do it or don't, just go and do it, and you're going to have your outcome because you put in the work, right? And that's, the forward thinking, keep pushing forward, get better a little bit each day type of mind, right?
Yeah, I mean, if we go to that scenario too, you can look at like some pro athletes and be like, oh, they're so lucky, they're born with that talent. Like let's take LeBron James for example. Oh, he's so lucky, he was born being a good basketball player. Like sure, he was born being a good basketball player, but he also has put in a lot of work to get to where he is.
Yeah.
So sure, maybe a little bit of luck to start off, but a lot of work to get the success that he's had, which has now produced what he has today.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll use another example for me is say I like doing this one arm bar. And say the first time I get it is very lucky, but I look at it, I'm like, you know what, I could use this. Okay, so where can I fix things so I have a higher probability of hitting this successfully, right? So you start going out and seeing every possibility of where it could fail, where it could be really successful, and you start playing off that. And I think you could use that in life too, right?
Mm-hmm. I like that. Let's like stick to that point for a bit. So in jiu-jitsu, how much of it do you think is like, oh, I got lucky and he rolled his body into this position and I could put him in that to arm bar him or whatever the hold might be, and how much is of what you said is like you put in the work to know what positions you can do?
I think at first it may be like that, but as you get better and you, like I said, add in like your time in of drilling it, like drilling the technique, and adding in the probability of this person moving this way, you start collecting them, right? Collecting reactions, okay? Or like say, handing out a resume. You hand out one resume and your probability of getting that one job, that one time, the first time you hand in that resume is very low. Then you're like, okay, you know what? Every other week I'm gonna keep handing it in to the same person. And then you finally get the job. Okay, then you know, right? Or you hand out 10 to 10 different ones and you get set. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just basic things. It's the same thing with jiu-jitsu. The more that you practice it, drill it, collect the reactions that, and understand how you move too. It's not only collecting the other person's reactions, it's collecting your own reactions too, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you keep making the same mistake and you don't learn from it because your ego and all this other things, right? Those all play a factor.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, there's so many people have so many different opinions on this topic, right? Because so many people will be like, well, like, you know, a lot of it is luck because a lot of it is like that happening at that time. But the way I look at it, and I know the way you look at it is, sure, there's always going to be some probability of luck.
Yeah.
But yeah, the more you put in the time, the more you put in the work, the more that success is going to happen to you. And the more you can do it, and the more you can like see the things that you want, and instead of just hoping that you can be lucky and get it, you can be like, okay, I know I need to do this step to get to there. Yeah. To maybe hopefully have a chance of that. Or this step to get to there, to maybe have a chance of that. Like let's even take it as like you're buying a house. Like, oh, it's so lucky you happen to find that house. Like, sure, you might think it's luck, but I was on MLS every single day looking at every single house for hours and doing my research to make sure that I found what I wanted to find, right?
Yeah. On that topic there, I'll go back to, say, technique with jiu-jitsu. I'll use the armbar. It's like you're almost, you have the luck and then you have the hard work. The more hard work you put in, the higher chance that it's not luck. You're creating the technique to make it just successful, right? So instead of like it just being lucky, okay, there's always that chance of it being lucky because their reaction is the way that you want it to be, and
right.
It's a little bit luck, if you want to call it that. Everybody can call it whatever they want, right?
Right. And that's the thing. You can call luck. You can call luck like a reward for your hard work.
Yeah.
There's different ways that you can look at it at the end of the day. Yeah. I mean,
lucky, blessed, whatever you want to call it, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And then when you look at like different situations, I guess you can look at like, was that really luck? Was that really maybe a reward for the work that he put in? Like, we could walk out here right now and be walking back to our cars and find a $50 bill. Yep. Like, sure, that's really lucky.
I hope.
Yeah, you know? But like, there's so many different ways that you can look at it. And it really just like seeing that, like how much success depends on luck. Yeah. It really just makes you think. And it makes you think about like lucky things that maybe you think have happened in your life, and then when you look back at that scenario and then rewind from that scenario at everything that happened prior to that, was it really luck, or was it really you putting in the steps and putting in the work to get that luck to happen?
And that's my whole mentality, is that the more positive energy you put towards something that you really want or something that you really want to get, it's gonna happen, right? Whether it happens way down the line and you get rid of some of that luck and you increase that chance of being more successful, right? Or increase the luck to get it, right? Whatever, like, it depends on how you look at it, right?
That's a really good way of putting it, I guess. I mean, I guess you could just like hand out that one resume and then sit on your couch and hope for someone to call you and get the job. Or you can put out the multiple resumes and, like you said, increase that chance of luck more and more.
Email them, call them, like, you know what I mean? Do whatever, you get the schooling, education, certificate, whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
Right? That's increasing your luck or increasing your probability of success, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, even if we just take it as simple as like training and eating, for example, someone could start training and lose a bunch of weight really quickly, and someone, I know we've talked about this before too, someone can on the outside can be like, oh, you're so lucky that going to the gym 3 days a week worked for you. But really, like, maybe they're like really like dialing in their nutrition and dialing in their sleep and dialing everything in. It's not just like going and that one activity is affecting the outcome. It's the multiple activities that affect the outcome.
Yeah, and I don't mind, personally, I don't mind people saying, oh, you're so lucky, that person's so lucky and all that stuff, as long as they're doing their own thing, right? If they live in a woe is me mental state and they're saying, oh, that guy's lucky, that's why he gets what he gets, right? Or that girl, whatever, right? But I think depends on how you look at it, right? If a person who's already successful and is grinding and doing their own thing, like, oh, that person is so lucky to get that, whatever, it depends on how you say it, right?
For sure. And I think it's always important to remember too, like, no one knows the backstory of anything, you know what I mean? So, like, sure, you can have that outside mindset of thinking, oh, they're so lucky, and maybe be jealous and maybe be upset because, like, you really wish that luck had happened to you, but you don't know what they've done to be able to get that luck.
And
right?
don't you love, that's one of the reasons I love doing this podcast, because you look at people who we've interviewed who are successful in their life, whether it's money, business, family, whatever, however they define success, right? But from the outside, you wouldn't know. Like, you just see their outcome, right? But you don't know their grind before that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, like,
that's why I love this.
And same here. And then, and as we do that and interview more and more people, we find out those stories, and we find out, like, maybe our thoughts on them from the outside was like, oh, lucky to get that, or oh, whatever. And no, like, let's take Jillian, for example. Like, do you think, like, she's so lucky because she's won all the gold medals she has? Like, no, we know she grinds and she puts in the work every single day to get those medals. Like, that is a reward for all her hard work that she puts in.
Yeah, and I'll use another example. Say my brother Hut. We interviewed him before, and he's back on his second stint of his world tour. People think, oh, he's so lucky to do that. He has no kids and blah, blah, blah. Well, do you know what he's done to put himself in that situation, to do what he wants to do,
the sacrifices
to follow
that
his
he's
dream?
made? Exactly. Yeah, like, oh, he's so lucky to do that. Like, maybe he's been eating Kraft dinner for the last 6 months so he can afford to do this, or you're right, like, no kids. Maybe he really wants kids, but you never know. Like, you never know.
You go back and listen to his podcast, you know he lived super minimal to make things happen, worked really hard, still helped out at the family, and still did his thing. And you got to respect those type of things. And like you said, you don't know what their backstory is. So let's respect everybody and just keep moving, right?
Yeah. And if you're sitting around waiting for luck, let's say, maybe put in a little bit of work to let that luck maybe fall into your lap a little bit easier. Whatever it is that you're hoping for or you're hoping comes to you, maybe just put in a little bit of work, and you never know. You put in that little bit of work and it opens your eyes to a little more work that you can do, and a little more, and you get closer and closer to that goal, or that luck or whatever it is, success that you really want out of it, right?
And before we close it off, like I said before, maybe see how your speech is when you're saying that person is so lucky, right? Is it with ill intent, or is it with positivity that you're happy for them, proud of them? And that goes for anything, not just for the success and lucky and all that stuff, right? You'd be surprised when you start going on that positive path, or trying to.
Yeah.
Like, obviously it's tough to be positive all the time, right? Be yourself still, but if you start looking at stuff as like, you know, instead of comparing them and being like, oh, like, F that guy,
Yeah.
right? Be like, oh, you know, that guy's successful. Let me just figure out, like, how is he doing it? How do I want to do it? And you know what I mean?
For sure.
So,
yeah. And I think, like, maybe we'll end it there. Like, luck is definitely a reward from hard work. Success is a reward from hard work. There's going to be that 0.001% chance of the pure luck, I guess, if you want to call it.
yeah.
But if you put in the work and you take the steps, you never know what kind of luck
Yeah.
is going to fall your way.
Yeah. Very interesting topic. It's very cool though.
Yeah. And we just want to thank you guys for all the support that you've given us so far this season. We have a lot of guests still coming on for this season 2 that we're going to be interviewing in the next few weeks. So stay tuned for that. And if there's anything that you guys want to hear from us, shoot us a message. We'd love to cover any topic that you guys are really on. If you want to come on the podcast, shoot us a message. We'd love to have you on the podcast. And do you have anything else?
If you know somebody that's really cool to be on the podcast, then shoot us a message too.
Yeah, like, we're always looking for interesting guests to tell their story. And although we have our people that we have lined up, we always want to know what you, our fans, want to hear too. So until next time, cheers, guys.
Thanks.